No, so we were holding. Where were we holding? We were holding in the middle of the fourth Perek. We're slowly inching, towards the end. And so let's just recap, a small recap. So yesterday, with the past few days, we're holding in the middle of talking about the middle path. How do we heal a person that is that his balance of that his general balance in his appetite of soul specifically is off. So what we need to do is we need to take him to the other extreme. But we have to know that the extreme is not an ideal. It's not. We have to be very careful not to confuse a temporary situation and to make an ideal out of it. So being extreme, like the tzaddikim were, and we all know the stories in the Gemara, and we all see these things, that is wrong. Now the reason why the tzaddikim did it is because they were very big, soul doctors, and they knew that for whatever they were going through, whatever they were working on themselves, the right thing for them to do at that time was not to eat. Because of tendencies that they had, situations that they were in. These are all things that are really none of your business. Because you have to know that the right path is the middle path for you, and seeing a tzaddik's own avoid and applying it to yourself is like going into a clinic and seeing someone taking medicine and just copying his prescription because he's a very good doctor or because the patient is a good patient. So that's a very foolish thing to do. So therefore, that's something the Rambam established yesterday, and he quotes one Chazal. Today he's going to quote a pasuk. The first thing to support the Rambam's case that abstinence is a sin, right? Abstinence is not the moral thing. Staying away from mundane physical activity is not the right thing. The first case was Nazir, right? You have a Nazir. What did a Nazir do? A Nazir said he made a neder that he was not going to drink wine. So the halacha is that when the Nazir finished his period of Naziris, he has to bring a karm chatos. So Asham, he brings an Asham, right? He brings a Asham Naziris. So the Gemara says, why does he bring a karm? Because he deprived himself of wine. So says the Rambam, this is mamash the case. So Chazal say that you have no business. This is not the right thing to do, and it's a choiter, right? The pasuk calls a nazir someone. What is a nazir? A nazir is someone who wants to be elevated, right? He doesn't want to involve himself in mundane activities. And wine, by the way, is a very, very dangerous thing. We learned the whole blat in Sanhedrin, where the Gemara talks about the dangers of wine, because wine, noyach, naval, achashverosh, we have Balshetzer, we have so many cases in Tanakh where people get drunk and they drive it brings to their downfall. So that's what, and we all know it from experience. Look around how many people struggle with alcoholism, and it's a real problem. So it's not crazy that someone should make a neder and say, I'm not touching wine anymore. But if someone does that absolutely, and in a very, certain, if he ties himself to such a neder, then the halacha is that he was a choyte. Now again, for someone who needs it, for an alcoholic, Naziris is the other extreme, and this is a person who his appetite of soul regarding wine at least is not balanced. He needs Naziris because he needs to be brought back to the middle way. So let's say if this is a person struggling with alcohol, then the soul doctor would tell him, make a Naziris for half a year, right? That's what he would tell him. Make a Naziris for half a year, and that's it. And in a half a year, we'll come back and check up on this again. That's what the Rambam would tell him to do, because that is why Naziris is here. But for every general person, there's no reason to not only there's no reason to do such a thing, it's actually sinful, and it would bring a person to the bad. It would bring him into a certain cycle of bad behavior and bad personality trait and so on and so forth. So the first thing is to know that for the regular person, Naziris is a avera. Again, so why did tzaddikim do it? The tzaddikim did it because they knew themselves, and it wasn't an ideal. What's very important over here is to say like this: Chasidus as an ideal, Chasidus as a lifestyle, that is someone who goes in the middle path and veers slightly to the right. That is a sustainable lifestyle for a chassid. But when a tzaddik engages in extreme activity, not 5% incline, we're talking about full-blown not eating for days, not talking to family, these things, that is not a lifestyle. That is personal treatment from a tzaddik that you have no business imitating or focusing on. Now, the second raya that Rambam brings is from a conversation between Hashem and Klal Yisrael in the beginning of the second Beis Hamikdash. So the Yidden sent shlichim to the Nevi'im to ask if they should still fast on Tisha B'Av. Okay, we just rebuilt the Beis Hamikdash. Now the second Beis Hamikdash wasn't, at least in the beginning stages, it wasn't really what anyone dreamt of. So the Beis Hamikdash wasn't in a good place, but ultimately, Klal Yisrael had their second Beis Hamikdash. So they sent shlichim to go ask the Nevi'im if they should fast. And the message that they got back was, Hashem said, I don't care, which is a very fascinating. Hashem says, your eating and your drinking has nothing to do with me. When you don't eat, when you deprive yourself, does it make anything? Does it have anything to do with me? In what way? So let's read it inside. Let's see how the Rambam reads it, and then we'll see how he makes his point. So we see from the Navi that the objective was the middle path, right? The preservation of the middle path. That they should, handle their body and their soul in a way that the Torah obliges them to, and that is all in the balanced way. And so, to the point that Hashem answered the Navi, and he said in Zechariah, when they asked, should I cry on Tisha B'Av? Should I stay away from food like I did for, maybe even wine, like I've been doing now for 70 plus years? And Hashem answered them, when you were fasting and crying in those years, when you, in these 70 years, was it for my sake that you fasted? Did I want it? You are the ones that are eating, you're the ones that are drinking. And the point is that, so you have to fill in a lot of blanks. I guess the Rambam acknowledges that there are times when it's the appropriate thing and it's the middle path to fast. That's, let's say, if you're mourning. Let's say Tisha B'Av today. Tisha B'Av today, you can't apply this like, what does Hashem care? No, because the truth is, Tisha B'Av today, we don't ask Hashem. Ultimately, I'm thinking this now, I don't know if this is true, but ultimately, if we would ask Hashem today on Tisha B'Av, should we fast on Tisha B'Av? Hashem's going to answer the same answer. It has nothing to do with me. What do you feel like? If you feel like, the reason why we fast on Tisha B'Av is the old Chassidish memory, right? The reason why we fast on Tisha B'Av is because we're in a situation where we can't eat. And that is, so if you ask Hashem, if you have to ask, if your best friend asks you if you should come wearing, Shabbos clothing to your wedding, or something like that, or nice. If you ask, I don't need it. I don't need it. Go away. That's not the point, right? So if here Klal Yisrael is in a situation where they feel like they shouldn't be fasting because they have their Beis Hamikdash, but they don't know what Hashem thinks about it. And Hashem says it was never about me. It was always about you. Eating and drinking is your reaction to a certain situation. Now, sometimes it's appropriate. Let's say Tisha B'Av when there's no Beis Hamikdash, or one day of Tshuva, which maybe has a different function according to the Rambam, which maybe we'll have to discuss. But here we're not talking about fasting for Tshuva. So maybe once a year, the appropriate thing, maybe global fasting, once a year, 24 hours makes sense to the Torah. Maybe, I don't know, we have to, or even if it's extreme, once a year, there's room for that. But here we're talking about fasting of mourning. We're talking about fasting the Dalet Tzomos. It's Tzom Gedalia, Tisha B'Av, Shavuos B'Tammuz, and Tisha B'Av, Asar B'Teves. Right? Those are the 4 fasts. So the Klal Yisrael asks Hashem, should we fast? And Hashem says, eating and drinking was never about me, it was about you. I'm not affected. I could not care less. That's really what Hashem says. I could not care less if you're eating or drinking on Tisha B'Av. It means nothing to me. So, I don't know. Sort of Hashem says like, he's kicking the ball back to their court. Do you feel like eating or do you feel like drinking? Now there's the Beis Hamikdash, there's no reason to keep it up. As long as there's no Beis Hamikdash and you eat and drink, then maybe you're telling Hashem, although Hashem doesn't really care if you eat or drink, but Hashem cares if you care about the Beis Hamikdash or not. Right? So then you basically, if someone eats on Tisha B'Av, Chazal say that they're not zocheh to see the Geula because they're not sad about the Beis Hamikdash. So genuine sadness has a place when you're mourning. But if there's a Beis Hamikdash and there's no reason to mourn, now ask Hashem, should I eat or should I not eat it? Okay. So now here the Rambam says something parenthetically. So he says like this. He finishes the pasuk. So what does the pasuk say? So first the Rambam made his case. The case is in the very direct, almost extreme words that Hashem tells Klal Yisrael, and that is that when you eat and when you drink, it has nothing to do with me. And don't ask me if you should fast. Because really it doesn't do anything for me. That's number one. Now, but how does the pasuk end? The pasuk ends, Koimer Hashem tzavos leimor, mishpat emes shfoitu. You should you ask me what to do. Oh, no, I'll tell you what to do. Judge in your communities with justice, with truthful justice, and perform kindness and rachmanis one on another. And what's going to happen? All the fasts are all going to be festivals one day. And you should love truth and peace. So the Rambam says that this society, if you engage in the middle path, if you rule your society and personally with kindness and mercy and justice, right? This is what he says. This is what Hashem is saying. He asked me if you should fast. Don't engage in any of that activity. That's all A, extreme activity, and B, has nothing to do with me. But you want to know the type of people that I want, you want to know the type of behavior that I admire and that I look up to. I don't admire people who fast. I don't admire people who torture themselves. I admire a society that has justice, peace, and mercy. And then, Klal Yisrael, if you go in this balanced middle path, and you have a society, obviously, where everyone personally is acting and does conduct themselves in a societal level and on a personal level, with peace and mercy and justice, then it's going to be the end of days. Then all the sad days are going to be Yom Tov, and everything's going to be good. And the Rambam says, and the ultimate, right? The Rambam says that this what is the ultimate? The ultimate is emes and shalom. What's emes and shalom? So if we go back to I think it was the second paragraph where the Rambam said that the ultimate, when the Rambam talks about where the virtues and the deficiencies come out, right? So he said that they don't come out in the nutritive soul because it's just robotic, and it doesn't come out in the imaginative soul. And we were learning why. We're the good perfected person. Where does it come through? It comes through in his intellect, right? How connected he is, and how much of true wisdom he attained, and how much intellect he connected to, and emes and all that, and Hashem's ways and all that. The intellectual mind, and in the appetite of soul, because that's a person that his morals and ethics and his behavior is perfectly balanced. So the Rambam says that is emes hashalom. Emes is, this society. This pasuk could really be the motto for the entire Shemona Prakim of the Rambam, because if you go in the middle path, if you do mishpat and chesed and rachamim, right? These are if you engage in balanced, appropriate, true, good, kind behavior, then the result is going to be v'emes v'shalom avu. Then you will be in a position to appreciate and run after and really attain emes v'shalom. Now, emes is the ultimate truth, and that is the ultimate intellectual connection. And shalom is the ultimate behavioral attribute, fact. That is, shalom is a perfected person in midos is shalom. All the milas come to shalom. Shalom is peace. Shalom is when everything is in a perfect peace and harmony. So that is shalom. So the Rambam says, look at the pasuk again. The emes is shalom abu. Emes is this. So this is the person and the community reaching its highest level and potential, and that is through doing the middle path, through conducting a society on justice and peace and mercy. They will be able to attain the highest of the intellectual virtues and the highest of the personality virtues. The Rambam says, but I digress. So the Rambam says, okay, we're going to return to the primary subject now, and we're going to get back to what we were holding in the middle of. And that is that the first part of the pasuk that the Rambam was saying, that Hashem says, haloi, what does he say? Kitzamtem v'chisorchle v'chisishtu halei atem ha'oichlem v'atem ha'shosim. Now, the Maisa says this. So the Rambam says, so here's going to come someone, and the Rambam says, so some people from our faith, from Klal Yisrael, that they compare themselves and they imitate the goyim, because that's the Rambam is identifying someone who has abstinence as part of his avodas Hashem, is taken from the Christians. That's what the Rambam says. There's no place in Yiddishkeit you saw this. And therefore, if you see a Yid engaging in this behavior, he's imitating the Christians. And so the Rambam is saying, so now you know what this guy is going to tell me? So the Rambam so here comes in someone to the Rambam's clinic, right? So we all are, right? We all walk in and we want to know what we should do. So the Rambam first tells us what the ideal is. And the ideal is the middle path. And don't think for 1 minute that any extreme is good, both extremes are bad. And now the Rambam tells him, how far to take each side from left to right or right to left. And then this guy sitting on the couch says, but There's stories about the big tzaddikim in the Gemara. There's, we have all these stories of tzaddikim and chasidim engaging in extreme behavior. Someone says that has nothing to do with you. That is them. They were soul doctors. They knew what to do. But that's not an ideal. By the way, they only did it for a short period of time, and then they went back once they got themselves in the middle path. So the guy says, "No, what's with me?" So I'm also going to do the same thing. You know why I'm fasting? You don't know. You know why I don't talk to my family? Because I also need help. And that's where the Rambam says that it's not for everyone. Really, he says that if you follow the ways of the Torah is already designed in a way that it's not going to take you only to the middle path. He says that all the mitzvahs in the Torah are all they're all written and codified. All the mitzvahs of the Torah are made in a way that they take you slightly leaning to the midas chassidus. The original mitzvahs of the Torah are already in such a place, and therefore you don't have to do anything. If you want to be a good person, if you want to work on yourself, just follow the mitzvahs of the Torah. Now, ultimately, if you're going to be a big tzaddik and a big chassid, and you're in a position to make whatever decision for yourself, then you're on another level, and we're not really talking to you. So it seems like the Rambam is focusing on the vast majority of people, and there are people who need serious help, and people that are in a position of serious help are not in a position to write their own prescriptions, and the Rambam is saying, therefore the prescription you need is the Torah itself. Just follow the Torah. Don't add anything onto the Torah. And if you do the Torah, and the Rambam says, because you'll see that the mitzvahs of the Torah are given in a middle path, meaning it doesn't deprive you and it doesn't let you indulge. On the other hand, they do give a slight incline to the anti-animal side. So let's see how the Rambam says this. So people from our faith that imitate, the people from non-Jewish, non-Jews. So there are because these are the people I'm talking to. The Rambam says, really, I'm talking to the Yid, right? I'm not mechanech this Christian bishop that he should go marry. I'm talking to a Yid that sees this, someone who's very pious. He sees a Christian who's not eating and he's not married, and it seems like he's a very elevated person, and he wants to imitate him because he also wants spirituality in his life. So he's going to start imitating that, or he's going to start imitating the Avos Tzaddik. So the Rambam says, and he's going to say, says the Rambam that if you're going to tell me that you also want to engage in extreme behavior because you want to discipline yourself, because ultimately you want to get to the middle path, and that is why you're engaging in all this extreme behavior, says the Rambam, you're wrong. Why are you wrong? He says as follows: that the entire objective of the Torah, anything the Torah prohibits and everything the Torah commands is for this very reason, that a person should distance himself a little more from one extreme than the other. Derech chinuch, in a disciplinary way. Meaning, when the Torah restricts a person, it's not because the Torah really wants to restrict you as much as it is. It's because the Torah restricts you because it already has this formula in place. The Rambam says, if you take my idea of the middle path as the ideal, as extreme as bad, and the slight incline as preserving the middle path, then you'll apply that formula to the Torah. You'll come up with, I don't know if all the mitzvahs, but a tremendous amount of mitzvahs are a result of this formula. And that is the middle path as an ideal, the extremes as bad, and a slight incline to preserve the middle path. So the Rambam says, therefore, you don't need you don't need to be a nazir. You don't need to put yourself through any additional, deprivation. Kulam, all the machalas asuras, right? All the foods that we're not allowed to eat. When you take a road trip, I just did for a week, you can't eat anything. Think about every guy that goes on this road trip. They have a million places to stop. They have so many foods that they could eat, and we have to take foods, and that gives us already a certain discipline. So you're allowed to eat kosher food, galore, no problem. You're allowed to eat kosher food. But first of all, kosher food itself is a tremendous restriction. It not only restricts the food you could eat, and the options you could eat, and the places you could eat, and the times you could eat. There's so many, all these restrictions. On the one hand, they let you eat, but they save you from overindulging at every time. And, someone is in intimate relationships. So there also, you could only have relationships with the woman that you're married to, and in certain times, so he says, Vazara Legdesha, they'd be with a prostitute. And not, even when someone gets married, it's not enough only to give kiddushin. You have to commit to a ksuba and kiddushin. And and even with all that, a woman is not mutter. She's at all times, because sometimes she's in nida, and sometimes it's after birth. And even then, the Chazal say that you shouldn't engage in certain activity by day. So what do you see? What does that bring? That brings you like this. The Torah does not tell you, look at the priest and that is kedusha. No, that's not kedusha. That is extreme. What's the right thing? The Torah is a lifestyle way to live in this world. Now, the Torah already knows that we have a tendency to lean towards one side. So the Torah says, okay, I want you to get married. I want you to eat food. I want you to engage in this world. But I'm going to limit it. I'm going to limit it in a way that will discipline you, that you should live in this world, you should engage in this world, you should engage in human activity, but not animal activity. And the way that I am going to assure this is that I'm going to give you a slight incline to the side of, maybe you could call it depriving, and that is by regulating so many things, and that will ultimately bring you to the middle path. And the reason why, the reason why Hashem gave us all these mitzvahs, that we should stay away from indulging and overindulging, and we should go even out of the perfect balance a little towards the side of the lacking of the physical pleasure. And that is, so we should attain this situation of precious, and that precious is the perfect balance. That is engaging, but not indulging. So that is, and the Rambam says further, you should give meiser and leket and shikra and pei and peret and oil and shmita and yovel and tzedakah and mechzorah. So all these things, right? So you see that there's when someone makes he has a produce of 100 pounds of wheat. So now he has to first give 2% to even before the 2%. First, he has to take 2% of his entire field and leave it as payah. And now when he collects it, there's leket and shikra and peret and oil by the grapes. See, there's a lot that he has to leave on the field before he takes it to the warehouse. There's a lot that he has to leave in the ground. Now, before he takes it to the warehouse, as he's taking it to the warehouse, he has to take 2% to the Kohen, he has to give 10% to the Levi, another 10% to Meiser Oni, and once in 7 years, you can add that to the entire total. Once in 7 years, you have to open everything. And you have to let everyone come eat all your business. Right? And then yovel. And so what are all these halachas? These halachas say that you could keep 70%. You could keep, it's something like 70%. So you keep 70%, so you're working and engaging in this world, and you're making a profit, you become rich. But if you have to give away 30% at least of your income every year, and it's instituted, and it's free, and everyone knows because you have to open your fields, and this is a real part of your, of your net, of your gain is you count all these things that you have to give for tzedakah. And by the way, that doesn't count the person that knocks on the door by night for tzedakah. So that is going to teach you to be generous. Now maybe you feel like we're pushing the limits, right? Maybe this is not the balanced way. Maybe this is a little too much giving. Shalom says maybe it's a little too much, but it's not a lot. It's not telling you give away, all your money. That's not what we're saying. But the middle path. It's not the middle path. So that's the Rambam says. All these things are closer to the overspending. Why? Because Hashem wants to take us away from the stinginess, to a little more to the overspending. So we should be generous. Because if we're going to be perfectly in the middle, the natural gravity is going to pull us through to stinginess. And in this perspective, through this prism, the Rambam says, look at most of the mitzvahs, and they're all here to regulate and to discipline your personality traits. And you'll see that in the Kama and Gulas Adam. So you see that the Torah the Torah says, right? On the other hand, the Torah gives you Gulas Adam. So the Torah gives you an outlet in which a person could take vengeance. But it's very limited and it's very regulated. Azov to Azov, Hakim Takim. So sometimes the Torah, so there you see that, the Torah says that when you see your enemy, his animal is sitting there, we're going to have to finish now. So anyway, the Rambam says that we have to apply this. Okay, so the Rambam says that we should look at the Torah. You see that, so when the Torah says that you should help out the enemy with this donkey over there, because the Torah wants to take you out of the anger zone, out of anger and vengeance and all that, and he wants to force you to to be mechanech you that you should let go and you shouldn't bear a grudge. And when it comes to, in the Torah, it teaches you respect and like and to stand up for an older person, all these things. And you have to listen to the shoftim. That is to teach a person to be accepting, to be humble, and all that. And on the other hand, if someone's going to be too humble and someone's going to be too meek, then he won't be able to give Musar to someone. So the Torah says, no, that sometimes, that is taking you back the other way. So you have to stand up and give Musar to someone who is older than you. And you have to tell him that he's doing something wrong. So the Rambam says, so you have all these things. So let's just wrap up what the Rambam says for now. The Rambam says that here comes a person to the Rambam and he says, the reason why I'm engaging in extreme behavior is because I'm disciplining myself. I agree with you that the extreme is not ideal. I agree with you that it's only as a cure, but I need help. So therefore, I'm imposing on myself abstinence. I'm not going to eat, I'm not going to sleep, I'm not going to get married, all that because I know that I naturally overindulge, or I'm going to give 80% of my money to tzedakah because I know that naturally I'm very stingy. And I'm going to do that. So the Rambam says, chill, take it easy. The Torah already has this formula in the Torah. All you need to do is follow the letter of the law. If you follow the Torah, then you'll realize that the Torah was given in a way that is disciplining you if you follow the ways of the Torah, and you don't have to add anything on it. So when you're going to want to eat kosher food, now obviously that's only really going to work if you're conscious about it when you're keeping the Torah. Because sometimes, and this is the Rambam at the beginning of Parshat Kedoshim, sometimes you could keep the Torah. If you don't understand what the Torah is trying to do, then you're not going to get the message and it won't really have the effect on you. And this is very important to the Rambam, and hopefully we'll see it a little later. But this is important to stress. I just want to finish off with this. That if a person is conscious when he eats kosher, and let's say when you're in a place in the airport, when you don't have kosher food or on a road trip or whatever it is, and you're conscious, okay, now I'm not eating. I'm not eating because the Torah wants to make chanach, maybe that I don't always have to eat. Then it will have a much bigger effect on you. And the same thing is with relationships, the same thing is with everything. That if you're conscious that the Torah wants to be mechanech you in a certain way, then it's going to have a much bigger effect on you. So, we're going to finish off here, and what we saw today was that this mahalach of the Chassidim, of going to the extreme, you need a professional for that. Don't do that yourself. You need a professional, because the Rambam says that really you don't need it most times, because the Torah itself does this. And these things are instituted already. They're codified in the laws of the Torah itself.